Welcome back to Cap. I'm Corbin.
I'm Cody.
And today we're going to tell you why The Secret Agent should win Best Picture in 15 minutes or less. It's the sixth part in a 10-part series where we break down all 10 of the Best Picture nominees at the 98th Academy Awards. We're talking about what we love, no drama, no negatives, no smear campaigns. The Secret Agent was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Casting, and Best International Feature. Pretty good showing for a movie that I think early in the year, neither of us even knew anything about. It's now the second year in a row we've had a Brazilian film break into the Best Picture category. And I got to say, this is one of my favorite movies of the year. And it's a movie that I think is just so layered and intricate and zigzags in ways that especially on first watch, I wasn't prepared for, but I've only become to appreciate and love the movie because of more after watching again and beginning to think about. I think it's a movie that isn't for stupid people. Like just to be honest, like it is like a layered and nuanced movie. It takes some certain level of like research about the country and the understanding of the culture and what it's trying to say. And it is very specific to the time and the place that it was made, which I love movies that can transport you. You know, it's shot in Recife, Brazil, this real place where the director is from, taking you back to the 70s. And it's also just a movie that's so much about class and race and political turmoil and corruption and trying to survive through these times, and then also how important it is to remember those times when they have passed. It's not that long ago that this stuff was happening in Brazil. It's not that long ago stuff like that was happening in America. Maybe it's still happening in America right now. So it's important to remember it no matter what. And then you've got fucking Wagner Moira at the center of it, just looking incredibly handsome, guiding you through. What did you think on your first watch, Cody?
Yeah, I did really enjoy this. I mean, its argument for Best Picture, like you're saying, is much different from a movie like F1's. This is definitely more of the art house genre than.
It's a little meandering. It's slow. It's driving the Beetle through the streets. You know.
It's got the vibes, I feel like, but it also has the performances. Like you said, it has a really interesting script that 100% places you, in this era in Brazil, where it's just a very dangerous time to kind of be anybody really. And it really does a great job of diving into these characters, kind of where they come from, why they are doing the things that they are doing. And I think the cast is almost immaculate, to be completely honest. Like you were saying, I mean, Wagner Moura obviously got the nomination for Best Actor. Was actually very excited to kind of see him get that in a stacked category this year. I think he is obviously the anchor of this movie. Without him, it is just very, very different. And I think maybe with the turmoil going on in Best Actor, he could have a sneaky chance to win it, which would be sick for Brazil and for him as well. But glad that he still just got the recognition, regardless of winning or not. Because again, I mean, he goes through kind of every emotion that you can see on film. Definitely off the bat, just kind of see him on the run, obviously. But then you see kind of how he got there and, the anger inside of him and also the passion at the same time for the people that he loves, specifically his wife, who's been very, very wronged. But then bouncing off that, everybody that we meet along the road, I think is great, especially from a casting perspective. I want to shout out right off the bat this side character. The actress's name is Tanya Maria. She plays
Donna Sebastiana.
Yeah, I love her. She's kind of the person who obviously helps house all these different
She's
refugees.
running this kind of like refugee camp. Yeah.
She's absolutely amazing. I want to see her in basically every movie. I think that she's just so loving. She is so realistic. It doesn't even feel like, she's acting in a movie. It feels like just some random old lady that you met on the street and you're just having a conversation about kind of the cool things that she's done with her life, kind of her perspective on life. So every scene that she was in, I thought she was magnetic. And then obviously with her and Wagner kind of bouncing off each other and, working more into the plot. Like you said, that's where they're just the themes of, kind of censorship and, family and survival. I think it is a movie like the deeper that you dive into it, kind of the more that you get out of it. So like you said, I mean, just afterwards doing research about the era. And they use a really cool plot point as well of kind of this researcher, or I'm not sure who she is, maybe an investigator, a reporter or somebody. Kind of she gets hold of these tapes, with Wagner. And then eventually goes to his now son, Fernando, who's grown and kind of gives him all this information, which kind of the revelation there of like, he doesn't really know anything about his father that much. Like you said, just, we need to remember people like this, and there's tons of times where people kind of just get erased off the planet in a sense, because of these crazy things, and it's hard to remember them just because of the censorship. But I thought that was a really strong theme, kind of bookended, from that cool script point.
Well, and the whole reason that Wagner Moura's character is in Recife is because he's looking for his own mother's identification card. He wants proof that this person existed, that she was a real person who had him, because it was this, he was like, his father had an affair with basically like a person in the household, and he wasn't raised by his mother, so he's risking his life. He should have been out of the country, off safe, just to try and find this piece of information to connect himself to the past. And then we see him pop up playing his son later. It's another dual performance in a movie this year, and I think it is a fun, distinctly different character. I think the framing device is the thing I struggled the most with on the first watch, of like, it seems straightforward. You're following Wagner Moura's character throughout his time, but then you start to hear these tapes getting played, and you're flashing forward, like you said, to the present, and seeing these two girls who are doing basically translations on these tapes for a university. But then she's hearing and learning the story and becomes enamored herself, and reaches out and contacts the young son, which I think is a very kind of off kilter way to tell the story. And then you even find in the end, like, you don't see Marcelo get shot, Armando at all get shot. Like, he just dies off screen in this kind of strange way, with almost no like real record of it happening.
I did think that was very powerful, the way that, like you said, we see his death through newspaper clippings, basically, and that's the only thing that we do see. We see everything leading up to that, but not kind of that specific moment. But like you were saying too, I mean, there's a different kind of just side plot with the movie as well, where it feels like almost Coen Brothers-esque, kind of like hiring a couple of hitmen to come after Wagner. Just those characters are
But
fun on
not
their
good
own.
hitman necessarily.
Right. The crazy stepdad, and then this guy Bobby, who catches a lot of flack throughout the movie. But I thought like they were cast well and they have some menace. But the guy that they hire, I actually thought that he was a standout as well from a casting standpoint. Kind of just like this every day worker man, who comes in and kind of is scouting out the scene for him. Like his one scene with where he's yelling Armand, at Wagner, like trying to just confirm it's him, I thought was super intense. And especially like the cinematography during that scene was great, I thought. But also too, just talking about the casting for his family as well, like the one scene with his wife Fatima, I thought was maybe my favorite scene in the movie, and she was really well cast. But you also just see like the impact that her father, who's also in the movie, Mr. Alexandre, he's this local theater owner, just this really lovable kind of dad character who's awesome. But I thought their relationship was great. Him and his daughter Fatima, just because you see in that one scene with her, she's talking about, my dad's real, man. He was working at age 9. Like, you're a nobody. It's a great scene between her and obviously Wagner and this German guy who's basically shutting down their programming. He's a real asshole. But I thought her passion was awesome. And then when we see the dad character too, you just see kind of who she is through him, and how, just sweet and nice. And like that actor, I thought just knocked out of the park. I feel like he's that classic theater owner character in a movie like this. So all of the tiny characters were immaculate in my eyes.
And the movie's a real ode to cinemas and to like the
Yeah.
power of movies. And there's obviously like
Jaws.
the Jaws stuff, and the title, The Secret Agent, comes from a movie that's playing in the actual theater. He's not really a secret agent, even though he's just this professor that has to start using a fake name because of the political. It's like he's forced into this position when he's really just an academic. Like, he's just trying to raise his kid, but he's put into this awful position because he's trying to do the right thing. And now he's just one of many refugees here. And the father, the theater owner character, is incredible. He's the one who again raises the kid, and he says he was my real father. It feels like. I want to talk about the shark, and I want to talk about the leg specifically, because this is like the most like totally off the wall, unexpected scene for me, when a real disembodied leg starts attacking people. But where that comes from is, in the 70s, there was like this folk story at the time that people were getting attacked on the beach by this disembodied leg, and it was unsure, and it kept getting written about in the newspaper. And what it really was a journalist was talking about a disembodied leg to really report on police violence, and particularly like police doing, violence against homosexuals, people who are, just going down to the beach. So it's these real accounts of police brutality that were reported on and framed by a leg, and we get to see this like play out with a fun kind of slapstick VFX sequence of a leg hopping through the town and like beating the shit out of people. But that's just another layer of like way that this is so distinctly culturally about this setting in this time period. And it's a kind of a cool story to bring up of like this journalist who was still reporting in a unique way about, awful things that were happening.
On first watch, when that scene just comes on, you're like, what is going on? Like, you think it is almost going for, this cartoonish, crazy thing. But I feel like, recontextualizing that with the movie, that is a lot more powerful and makes it even a lot more scary, kind of who they're going up against with, this fascist regime is kind of how I see it in a sense. So definitely do like the intricacy there. Like you're saying too, just the thematic stuff with like Jaws, I thought was really interesting too, of him being, like obsessed with just the poster of the movie as a kid without even seeing the movie. And then him having like these recurring nightmares. They find a leg in a shark, which just kind of wraps it all together too, with Jaws, which I think is fun. So it uses a lot of external factors, while making the script, but it all still does come together pretty well. It's a little bit longer movie. I mean, it's probably, 2.5, 240, but it doesn't feel that long, I don't think. I mean, it's kind of a sit around and talking movie. There's definitely some action. There's no doubt about that. Chase sequences and stuff, but it's a pretty low key movie, and it doesn't feel super long, which I think is definitely a positive for a drama like this.
I really love the opening of this film too, as well. Just the way you see him in this yellow Beetle pulling up to this gas station. There's just a dead body that's been sitting there for days. The owner of the station is like, "Yeah, I called, like nobody's coming." Some police roll up. They're not even interested in this dead body. They're just there to shake him down and literally like only just get a couple cigarettes out of him, but that's enough. Like they just want some sort of bribe. And it just instantly you're like, okay, no one gives a shit about anybody's life. Nobody really cares. Like the police are fully corrupt. Like it sets the tone so well from the beginning, and everything else following is just perfectly to that T. I love every choice that they make in the structure of the story, the way it's edited together, when they decide to bring in the different flashbacks as you learn more about his backstory. Again, the researchers in the future. It is an intricate like Jenga tower of story that when you get to the end, it really pieces together beautifully.
Beginning to end, I think it is very cohesive too. But like you said, that opening is awesome of just putting you in that world, establishing, you're not going to get any help. You're actually going to have people working against you, it looks like, for the majority of kind of your life, which is unfortunate. And then yeah, just the disregard for kind of the dead body as well is just insane. And it kind of pulls you out of your own morals and puts you into this kind of, crazy landscape where you have to deal with all this firsthand. So super effective, I think, on all accounts, and the technicals I think are very well done too. So overall, a pretty great movie, I think, and one that deserved a Best Picture nom. It'd be a really fun winner, I think.
Two other things I want to shout out: the cat, dude, the fucking two-headed cat. That
Yes.
shit is awesome. Janus cat. Obviously, it's like maybe the most on the nose metaphor you could have of like
Yeah.
having to have two faces and live two lives, but it's sick. So cool. Never seen shit like that in a movie. And that's why I go to see movies. The police characters, the police sheriff characters that are tormenting this guy, and they keep saying he's a German Nazi soldier, but it's very clear this is a Jewish man who was tormented during the Holocaust. I love that layer. Another movie, Marty Supreme has some interesting like backstory about the Holocaust. The way this one uses this victim of the Holocaust and his backstory and the torment, I just find that super interesting. And the way that, obviously in South America, the ramifications of World War II are prevalent, and one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and incredibly heartbreaking.
That scene specifically, I feel like it feels a little out of place story wise, but it really does a great job of showing just a different side, kind of Wagner's character.
And how fucking awful these police guys are.
Oh yeah, that's another great side character too.
But they love Wagner. They're like, this guy's
Yeah.
cool as fuck.
Who wouldn't? I mean, everybody loves Wagner in this movie, really, other than
True.
people chasing him. But yeah, that cop character is super fun, like super eccentric, obviously just corrupt as hell. So he adds another fun, just kind of aspect to the movie as well.
Both of his kids get just shot and killed at the end. Tough.
Yeah, pretty tough. That's everybody's
But
pick,
hey,
really, though. Yeah.
The Secret Agent should win Best Picture. I agree.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.